Game of Thrones remains one of the best fantasy shows to ever grace the small screen, and the fact that it ran for more than 5 seasons and received a proper ending only elevates it further. Sadly, that's not the case for many high fantasy series brought to television, especially on the heels of HBO's beloved adaptation. And despite the harsh realities about Game of Thrones' final season, the show had a fairly strong run from start to finish. Even its weakest seasons are leagues ahead of what other shows have to offer. This is the reason HBO is committed to expanding its fantasy universe with spin-off series like House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon is yet another fantasy show that stands out because of its high production quality and impeccable casting. However, comparing all the seasons of Game of Thrones and its prequel, it's hard to deny that some are more impressive than others. House of the Dragon Season 2. Best Episode, The Red Dragon and the Gold. Rhaenyra, Emma Darcy, looking confused amidst the armies at Harrenhal in House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 8. Image via Max. House of the Dragon Season 2 has quite a few strengths, from its incredible performances to its well-wrought action sequences. The Red Dragon and the Gold is its best installment for a reason. Unfortunately, these things don't prevent it from being the weakest of all Game of Thrones and HOTD's outings. House of the Dragon Season 2's biggest shortcoming is probably its pacing, which feels uneven throughout, and ensures that its finale is underwhelming compared to the others in this universe. It also diverges from George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood in ways that don't always benefit the narrative. It's telling that even Martin himself had harsh things to say about Season 2's take on certain events from the book, particularly the long-awaited blood and cheese scene. The backlash surrounding Season 2 overshadows many of its stronger elements, preventing it from reaching the heights of Game of Thrones, or even HOTD Season 1. House of the Dragon Season 1. Best Episode, The Lord of the Tides. Young Rhaenyra talking to Alicent. In general, House of the Dragon has yet to match the greatness of its predecessor, and that's something that could change in Season 3. But this means that Season 1 falls at the bottom of any ranking, even the weakest outings of Game of Thrones surpass it. That's not intended as a critique of the prequel's first season. It's more a testament to Game of Thrones' incredible storytelling than anything else. House of the Dragon Season 1 is still a worthy follow-up to the original series, masterfully returning viewers to Westeros and accomplishing a lot in just 10 episodes. Jumping around in time and changing casts might make House of the Dragon Season 1 overwhelming at first, but it's admirable how the writers make its scope work. The casting choices and performances are spot on, and House of the Dragon transforms Martin's history text into a fully formed narrative pretty seamlessly. The changes made in HOTD are still divisive, but it feels like they serve the emotional beats of the story more than Season 2's. There's also great action, which isn't always the case when a series is new and finding its footing. And HOTD Season 1's ending packs a punch, even if it could have hurt more with a greater focus on the supporting characters. Game of Thrones Season 8. Best Episode, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Jaime Lannister knights Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 2. Given how much Game of Thrones Season 8 tarnished the series' legacy, it will come as no surprise that it's the most lacking of the original show's outings. It's notoriously difficult to stick a landing, especially when audience expectations are already high. However, Game of Thrones Season 8 gets so much wrong that it's difficult to give it grace. For one, its 6-episode run doesn't leave enough time to grapple with the weight of certain twists, like Daenerys Targaryen going full-on Mad Queen in The Bells, and Bran Stark admitting that his whole three-eyed raven journey had one purpose: to become king. These are the most outlandish examples of developments that could have been helped by more episodes, but even Jaime Lannister's regression and Tyrion's huge mistakes are hard to swallow during Season 8's rush to the finish line. This isn't to say that Game of Thrones Season 8 is all bad. Some characters, like Sansa and Arya Stark, get satisfying endings that make the journey worthwhile. The final season also boasts great performances, cinematography, and action sequences, all of which deserve praise regardless of its flaws. Game of Thrones Season 5. Best Episode, Hard Home. The Night King stares at Jon Snow in Game of Thrones Hard Home episode. Season 5 is where Game of Thrones starts to go off the rails, as the writers depart from Martin's Song of Ice and Fire books. It doesn't help that the fifth outing feels like a transition of sorts, with its pace slowing significantly after the non-stop developments of Season 4. Things pick up again towards the end, with episodes like Hard Home, The Dance of Dragons, and Mother's Mercy marking a return to form that greatly benefits Season 6. Indeed, Hard Home is one of Game of Thrones' greatest episodes ever, making it difficult to place Season 5 so low on a ranking. However, the reality is that Season 5's ending doesn't make up for its lackluster start. It also makes questionable choices when it comes to the characters. The decision to marry Sansa to Ramsay gets the Starks where they need to be narratively, but their wedding could have been handled with far more care. The Dawn storyline is also botched, which is a point of contention for die-hard fans of the books, and really makes you wonder why the HBO series bothered with it in the first place. The fight at Hardhome, Cersei's Walk of Shame, and Jon's death are all done well, but the slow lead up to these things is too laden with issues. Game of Thrones Season 7. Best Episode, The Spoils of War. Jaime and Bronn. Game of Thrones Season 7. Placing Game of Thrones Season 7 above Season 5 is a controversial choice, but hear me out. Despite its problems, this outing does a decent job of getting all the storylines to converge in a satisfying and meaningful way. Season 7 gets a lot of flack for forcing us to suspend disbelief, whether it's regarding questionable choices from our main characters or the newfound speed with which they travel. These criticisms are valid, but I'd argue that Season 7 makes the payoff worthwhile, giving it a leg up over Season 8. The series was always going to falter after going off the script of Martin's books, and delivering on the developments we've been waiting years for could prove just as difficult for the author. After all, the suspense is usually better than the outcome. All things considered, Game of Thrones does a good job of introducing Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, getting the latter wrapped up in the White Walker storyline, and pushing all the opposing players together, both on and off the battlefield. The ill-advised mission to bring a white to Cersei is a weird writing choice, but hey, it leads to some fun character moments and an undead dragon. And the pacing, interactions, and action of Season 7 place it slightly above Season 5, as it's a more entertaining watch from beginning to end. It's a shame Season 8 takes the outing's flaws and makes them worse, but I'm a firm believer that this one isn't as bad as many people believe.